Howdy, students. Welcome to episode 5 of the D-groups podcast. Last time we talked about the gospel being both this really special free gift that we get from God, and also how it's kind of a costly sacrifice to some of our more like worldly desires. And if I'm being completely honest, that conversation kind of gave me a little bit of a headache, but it was good in a good way.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's totally fair. I feel like it was kind of a workout for our brains. At least.
Right.
Yes.
Well, I think it was worth the work because, I think it's important that we understand what discipleship is. It's important that we understand why we're disciples. We're not disciples in order to earn Jesus' love or his favor or his approval, but it's really a response to the free gift of the gospel.
Yeah, like I'm thinking about that rocket ship analogy you had a few episodes ago where you were talking about like if the trajectory of the rocket is off by just 1%, it can miss the moon by 1,000 miles. And so if we're not like practicing and applying some of these discussions or some of our conversations to our lives based off of what we learned from the Bible, then we're going to find ourselves no closer to God than when we start the conversation.
Yeah, and I think that is spot on. So it's totally worth the work for sure. So I thought today we could actually give a little bit of guidance, a little bit of advice to the students about how to participate in D groups well as a fellow disciple. Like, what does it look like to help each other to grow in our walk with Jesus?
Yeah, like in the Bible, we hear God talk about how we should be doing all these things with one another. It might be like 60 times we're told either to love one another, teach one another, encourage one another. Basically, if you want to be a good disciple, you need to constantly be one anothering one another. Like it's not a Mr. Beast competition where you're going at it for yourself. It's more like Family Feud. Like it's a group effort.
That's good.
Right, totally. Or you could think of like a basketball team, right? You need different people to play different roles. Even if you've got a great basketball player on your team, you still need a point guard. You still need your 7-foot center. So yeah, you can't win a championship, even if you're Tyrese Halliburton all by yourself.
And he was going to win before that moment of which we do not speak.
Yeah.
Whew, still hurting from that. But no, I 1,000% agree. I will stand by that till the day I die. He was going to win that championship. So that's just
with his team.
With his team. They were going to win the championship. But yeah, I mean, the funny thing is even let's take NBA teams, for example. An NBA team can spend millions and millions of dollars to get all of these all-stars, to get a whole team worth of superstar athletes, and yet the team still isn't good. Why do you think that happens?
It's about chemistry. If the team doesn't have chemistry, you don't really have much of, a team. Yeah. You could be the best baller in the whole league, but if you're not a good teammate, if you aren't trying to encourage chemistry on your team, then you guys will ultimately lose.
Yeah, exactly. So kind of soft pivot here. That's actually what we're going to talk about here today. Because in order for your D group to work well, I really think you need chemistry. There might be chemistry that just happens on its own. And that can happen, and that is great, and praise God for that. But more often than not, chemistry is actually something that teams and, in our case, D groups, really need to work on. It's actually something you need to be really intentional about.
Yeah, totally. And so I've led small groups for about 15 years now. And
wow.
Thank you. Appreciate that. I have noticed that you can get together a pretty weird group of people, like not weirdo people, but you look at the group and you're like, interesting. I wouldn't necessarily see those people relating to each other. But if everyone puts a little bit of work in and they can be intentional about creating chemistry in that group, you can watch chemistry happen in any group where people are willing to put the work in.
Yeah. So today I actually thought we'd give a few tips on how to be a good D group teammate, if you will. So this time I actually came up with my own 5 tips on how to be a good teammate in small groups, because similar to Nicholas, I've also spent many years leading small groups. And these are just some things that I've learned and I've observed over the years that kind of work to, when you put them all together, it's a good recipe for group chemistry. Okay, ready for number 1?
Ready.
First tip is that this is going to be a little bit of repeat, but I think it's important enough to repeat, is just to show up. So whether you know it or not, either going to your D group or not going is actually communicating something to your group. It's either saying, hey, I really value my time with you, or maybe I don't. So the first way to build chemistry with your group is just by doing everything you can to show up every time.
Yeah, I feel like this is something I'm learning even now. So I'm part of the generation where we sort of do our work from wherever, at home, at the coffee shop. As long as it gets done, it gets done. But it's been really helpful for me to have people over the years say, actually, it's really important, Nicholas, that you show up and you're present with us, because that says something about the way you value us and the way that you're a teammate. So showing up, really, it matters.
Yeah, it's almost like learning like a different language when you hear somebody say, hey, I want to see you here. I'd love to spend time with you. I think because of technology and the fact that we oftentimes communicate through either our devices or our parents' devices. I'm looking at you guys who are still waiting for your phones to show up. I was one of you. It's almost like we forget that it's so important to be physically with someone else. Jesus didn't tell his disciples that God so loved his world that he sent his only begotten DM. No. He said he loved the world so much that he sent his son, who was embodied both in mind and spirit and a physical human body.
Yeah, that is exactly it. So, I mean, showing up matters. It's a statement. It says that you care. It says that you want to be there. And of course, there will be times that you can't make it, especially freshman year when the times are kind of set in stone for you. So there will be times you can't show up because of a conflict, and that's okay. Maybe even you're sick. We get that. But communicating that in general at all is helpful, not ghosting your group. But even the way you communicate it. I mean, like, how could you communicate to your group that they matter to you, even if you can't show up?
Yeah, I mean, let the squad know that you're bummed, that you can't be there.
Yeah.
And even share why you can't be there. It might seem like you're just being a little vulnerable, but actually it goes a long way. They can pray for you while you're not there and still be supporting you even in your absence.
Totally.
Yeah, and if you're in an older group, sophomores through seniors, we design these groups so that if you tell your leaders far enough ahead of time, you could adjust the day, you could adjust the time so that they could be with you. And that's why we have these groups that are so small, is because we want them to be agile, They can adjust, be agile.
Oh, yeah, agile like a sand crab. You know how
Yeah.
they're like constantly kind of shimmying back and forth, like, boom, I'm over here, and boom, I'm over here.
Yes. So the
Yeah.
greatest sand crab impression of all time.
Thank you.
Well done.
Yeah, I mean, sand crabs, that was our vision for sure from the
I know.
get-go.
That's why I said it.
Okay, so show up. That's first, number one. Okay, tip number 2. Ready?
Yep.
Here it is. Go first. Here's what I mean by that. One of the things we like to see in our groups is that they're a safe place for people to share and be vulnerable and be honest about their lives. And our leaders are going to work really hard to do that for you. We've trained them in that. They're excited to do that, and that is great. But at the end of the day, I actually think that I've seen and watched over the years that it's actually more up to the people in the group than it is even about the leaders. The leaders can do a lot of work, but it's up to the students to also participate and help make it a safe place too.
Yeah, could you tease that out a little bit more, MP?
Yeah, for sure. So what I'm saying is this, like, in order for it to be a place of honesty, a place of safety and vulnerability, someone in your group has to go first. And I think specifically a student needs to go first too, because a leader will probably lead in that way. But for someone to be the first one to say, hey, I'm really struggling with this today, or this hard thing is happening to me, or even I don't understand the video today, I think is really important.
Yeah. So you're not just talking about being the first person to answer a question, but being the first person to really kind of put yourself out there and be honest. And yeah, I can totally relate to that as someone who's led groups for a long time. I try to model honesty and vulnerability, but I'm always waiting for that one student who will go first and say, you know what, I'm not going to make the conversation about things up here or about somebody that I know, but I want to make this conversation about something real that's happening in my life. And often that one student who will go first, that everything sort of depends on that person.
Yeah, because if nobody goes first, then nobody goes. Like, I think it's important to think about the fact that you have this opportunity to take the risk and share something that you might be hesitant to share. Everything that you go through, you have the opportunity to grow through. So if you are thinking about something that you've been praying about for like a very long time and it just keeps coming back to you, and there's a chance that this struggle or decision that you're coming to will occur multiple times throughout your life. Now's the time to start working through it and to share it with other people who might also have that thing in common or might have some wisdom to share with you.
Yeah. Yeah. And part of the reason why we wanted to talk about the safety of the gospel and the freeness of the gospel is because we want you to know that being a disciple isn't about having everything together, right? And so Jesus tells that story in Luke 18 where he compares the Pharisee and the tax collector who go up to the temple to pray. And the Pharisee has this prayer that's sort of self-congratulatory. It's like, I tithe, I do all these good things. I'm not like this guy over here who's a total mess. And then the guy who's a total mess, the tax collector, says, Lord, have mercy on me, I'm a sinner. And Jesus, surprisingly, at the end of the story says, actually, that guy who admitted that he's a mess, I consider him righteous, not the other guy.
That Pharisee definitely had some things going on with him, some crummy sins that he just wasn't sharing. But what Jesus appreciates more is the honest humility that the tax collector shared.
Yeah, absolutely. So when we think about a healthy D group, we don't want to think about a group where everybody's sort of sharing, here's all the great things that I've done. We like, in a weird way, Jesus would say the D group that would please me is a group where everyone's talking about their sin. That would be the most righteous D group that I could imagine.
Yeah, that is really great. So to summarize so far, first, show up, then go first. Ready for number 3?
Yeah.
Okay. Number 3 is actually a little bit more about how you interact with the other people in your group. So number 3 is be curious. Be curious. So sometimes in our group, when we're waiting for our turn to speak, it's really easy and tempting to only be focused on what you're thinking and what you're going to share. And that makes sense. Like, that is fair, but that is sometimes to the detriment of the person sharing. Maybe that means you're not listening fully to them or paying attention. Because when we realize, like, maybe there's some follow-up questions we can ask. Like, say, for example, maybe someone shares something in the group, and from the, like, on the offset, it kind of sounds something mundane, something not a huge big deal, not a, like, really a big deal, but then you kind of notice, like, oh, they look pretty down after sharing that, though. So then maybe you can follow up and say, like, hey, is there something else going on? What else happened to you this week? Or how are you feeling about that thing? And just, you're able to ask some more questions about how they're doing rather than just focus on what you're going to say next.
Yeah. I've heard that called an iceberg statement. So you know how you only can see the top 10% of an iceberg, but the 90% is below the surface. And sometimes in a small group, you'll kind of hear somebody say something. And you're like, oh, it seems like maybe there's more to that. Now, you got to be very attentive to somebody else in order to notice that, right? And so that's part of what we're encouraging is, could you be attentive to the other people in your group where you would even notice body language or things like that and be able to say, hey, could I ask you a follow-up question about that? And it's okay if they don't want to, but even noticing, that can go a long way.
Yeah, and I think it's really important to consider the fact that you should be investing in your group. You should be sharing and caring as many times as you show up to the group. You should consider the fact that it's an awesome opportunity to hear what somebody is saying and interact with it. And not to be argumentative if they say something that you might disagree with, but to take it a point to say, hey, why did you say that? I've never thought about the Bible that way. I'd love to know more about why this is how you consider this passage to mean this to you.
Yeah. And part of what we're saying is just, ask each other questions. That's good. Your D group leader is going to ask questions to all of you, but it's actually a really beautiful thing when we're all showing curiosity about one another.
Yeah, and again, I really think it comes back to the way that Jesus treats us, right? So when Paul talks about Jesus taking on humanity through his life, death, and resurrection, he also says we should model our own relationships after Jesus. So Philippians 2:4 says, don't look out only for your own interests, but take an interest in others too. So I think it's a really good thing to keep in mind as we participate in our groups. And along with that, I think Jesus was actually one of the best question askers in history. If we look to his life and we want to model that like he did, he asked a lot of questions and wasn't just talking at people. He got asked lots of questions, didn't answer majority of them. And then he asked twice as many questions as people asked him. So I think we can learn a lot from him and try to reflect that back to others.
Yeah. Because it's okay to have something interesting that you want to say, but maybe just like add that to the queue and take the time to really consider what somebody else is saying. It's a very unique opportunity that you have to talk to your brothers and sisters in Christ who are also going through some things that are very similar to you.
Yeah.
And this opportunity that you have right now is very, very unique. So take advantage of it and try to hear from some other voices.
Y'all ready for number 4?
Oh, yeah.
Ready.
Okay. Number 4 is be trustworthy. Be trustworthy. So that just means when someone shares something in your group, it stays within the group. So this one is pretty simple. And I think sometimes it's easy to hear this and be like, yeah, we all know that. But it's way easier to say it at the beginning than to have to retroactively, after maybe someone did share something they weren't supposed to have to say it again. And so I think it's really important to say it from the get-go and say, like, hey, let's make sure we're all on the same page about this. In this group, we don't share anything that's shared in the group. It stays between us, so that we can keep this space safe for each other. So here's one way that a writer of Proverbs says it. So in Proverbs 20, verse 19, it says, a gossip betrays a confidence, so avoid anyone who talks too much.
Yeah, that is simple, but I think it's really important. I even like that word confidence. I know the Proverbs are using that word to like mean confidential, but that idea that I could tell you something and I would be confident that it's safe and that it stays there, I think that can really make or break a group. And it's hard. I messed up with this a few months ago when I was in a Bible study and somebody shared something that I didn't think was private or embarrassing or anything like that, but I shared it with their parent, and it was sort of like, oh man, that wasn't supposed to be shared. And so I felt bad about that. But I think the lesson there is just assume it's confidential unless you're told otherwise, and that what is said in the group, it stays there.
Are you referring to the time when I shared that I sometimes listen to the K-pop Demon Hunter soundtrack when I'm cleaning the kitchen?
Oh.
Yeah, I told your mom and dad about that. So
nice.
I'm sorry. I apologize. I love that about you, but I ask your forgiveness.
You're forgiven.
I can tell. That's great.
Man, look at this. This D group chemistry in action.
Yeah.
The vulnerability, the forgiveness. It's just, we're seeing it before our eyes,
Sure we are.
Okay, well, if y'all feel reconciled enough, I think we can move to the last one.
I'm not sure.
I guess.
Maybe. Okay,
Right.
we're going anyways. So, number 5. I'm actually going to start this one with a riddle.
Ooh, so mystical.
So mystical, exactly. Okay, the thing I'm thinking of, the richest person in the world is desperate for. When others get it, they envy it, but it costs nothing. What
Apple
is it?
orchard.
That was so fast. No, it's not an apple orchard. It's a good guess, though.
Great skin. Taco
Weirder
Bell.
guess, but sure.
Taco Bell. Taco
That's
Bell.
not free.
It's pretty much free.
Apple
Okay,
orchard,
fair.
final answer.
No, not an apple orchard. Y'all are very close, though. No, the answer is a word of encouragement.
It was on the tip of my tongue.
Yeah, I can tell y'all are so close to guessing that. No, but really, I mean, everyone needs encouragement. It costs you nothing to give, and it can mean so much to a person. And even the most powerful people in the world not only want but need encouragement as well. And you really could end up saying something that someone will treasure forever.
Yeah, so Bible nerd moment. Actually, encouragement
Of
in the
course.
New Testament is one of my favorite Greek words. It's used all the time, where in those one another's Caleb was talking about earlier, Paul will often say to encourage one another. So one place is 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 11, where he says, therefore, encourage one another and build each other up, just as in fact you are doing. And I love that word encouragement, because the word literally means to give power to somebody else. Like you can offer spiritual power to somebody else just by giving them a word of encouragement. It's really powerful.
Wow. Yeah, and that's like God's design. Like sometimes we feel like a little shy about the fact that we want to give encouragement, or even the fact that we want encouragement. But Jesus is here to say, yeah, you do. So give it and receive it well.
Absolutely. And I would really encourage students to actually look actively for opportunities to be an encourager in their group, because it really is so rare for people to hear encouragement. But it means so much. And it's not just about just making people feel good for no reason. I really think to be dedicated Christ followers, we need to encourage one another, and we need those words of encouragement. And Jesus shares about that. And so we need it just as much as we need other things in our life, like food and the air we breathe. So be an encourager to one another.
That's super helpful. Thanks, guys.
I agree. So to summarize, we have first, show up. Second, go first.
Yep.
Third, be curious.
Yeah.
Fourth, be trustworthy. And fifth, be encouraging.
Yeah, you got it. That's it. Now you guys have a chance to go put it into practice.
Great. See you guys next time.
Peace.